The theater was loud, that night, filled with the familiar energy of America's Got Talent. Lights moved across the ceiling, cameras rolled into position, and the audience buzzed with anticipation. It was another audition day, another hopeful performer walking onto one of the biggest stages in the world. No one expected history to enter the room. A small figure stepped out from backstage. He was young, too young, some might have thought, to carry something heavy. Yet there was something in his posture that made people look twice. He didn't wave wildly or jump with excitement. He walked calmly, almost carefully, as if every step meant something. His clothes were simple, neat, and respectful. When he reached the center of the stage, he stood still for a moment, looking out at the sea of faces before him. The judges smiled politely. Simon Cowell leaned back in his chair, hands folded. He had seen thousands of auditions. Dreamers, singers, prodigies, and pretenders. Very little surprised him anymore. The host asked the usual questions. Name, age, where are you from? The boy answered softly, but clearly. He was Filipino. That single word stirred something quietly in the room, though no one yet understood why. When asked what he would be performing, the boy paused, just for a second. Then he spoke words that changed the mood instantly. Lupang Hinirang. The audience murmured. Some recognized the name, many didn't. The judges glanced at one another. Simon raised his eyebrows, slightly curious but reserved. The boy explained simply that it was the national anthem of the Philippines. For a brief moment, the room felt different. Singing a national anthem on a talent show stage was rare. Singing a foreign national anthem, especially by a child, was almost unheard of. Some wondered if it was a risky choice. Others felt intrigued. Simon leaned forward. Now the music began. There were no flashy instruments, no dramatic build-up, just the opening notes. Gentle, solemn, and dignified. The boy took a breath, and then he sang. From the very first line, the sound that came out of him did not match his size. His voice was clear, steady and full of respect. He wasn't showing off. He wasn't trying to impress. He was delivering something sacred. As the melody flowed through the theater, the noise faded away. The audience stopped, shifting in their seats. Cameras slowed their movement. Even the judges' expressions changed, not with shock, but with attention. Lupang Hinirang ليس مجرد أغنية إن تاريخ مكتوب على الموسيقى ولد في وقت النضال. وصف خلال ثورة ضد الحكم الاستعماري. Its words speak of land, of people, of sacrifice, and of freedom earned through blood and courage. For Filipinos, it is not entertainment, it is identity. And this child sang it as if he understood. Every weight carried in every note. His pronunciation was careful, his phrasing deliberate. When the anthem rose, his voice rose. With it, never shouting, never forcing. When it softened, he softened too, holding the room in silence. Somewhere in the audience, a hand moved to a chest. A woman blinked rapidly, surprised by tears she hadn't expected on the judges' panel. Something remarkable happened. Simon Cowell, known for his sharp critiques and emotional restraint, stopped moving entirely. His eyes remained fixed on the boy. His jaw tightened slightly. He wasn't judging anymore. He was listening as the anthem reached its most powerful lines. The boy's voice carried a quiet strength. It wasn't perfect in a technical sense, but perfection didn't matter. What mattered was truth, and truth filled every second of that performance. For Filipinos watching around the world, time seemed to pause. Many had grown up, standing still in classrooms, hands on their hearts, singing the same song every morning. Many had parents or grandparents who spoke of war, colonization, and independence. Many had left their homeland, carrying memories across oceans. And here it was, their anthem on the AGT stage. When the final note faded, there was a heartbeat of silence. Then the theater erupted. The audience stood to their feet, applause crashing like waves. Some clapped above their heads. Others wiped their faces openly. The boy stood still, eyes forward, breathing slowly, as if he had just completed something far greater than a performance. The judges stood too. Howie Mandel shook his head, stunned. Heidi Klum pressed her hand to her mouth. Sofia Vergara's eyes glistened. Simon remained standing, but he didn't clap. Immediately, his eyes looked distant, glassy, for a man who had built a career on tough words. This was unfamiliar territory. When the applause finally softened, Simon reached for his microphone. He took a breath, then another. "I've heard a lot of singers," he said slowly. His voice was different now, quieter, more careful, but I don't think I've ever felt something like that before. The boy listened respectfully, hands at his sides. Simon paused again. He swallowed. "You didn't just sing." He continued. "You represented something. You brought history, pride, and heart onto this stage, and that takes courage." His voice cracked just slightly. The audience noticed. Simon looked down for a moment, then back up. "I'm struggling to find the right words," he admitted, "and that doesn't happen to me very often." A ripple of emotion passed through the room. The other judges spoke too, praising the bravery of the choice, the sincerity of the performance, and the power of sharing one's culture with the world. But it was Simon's reaction that people would remember, because in that moment, it wasn't about a competition anymore. It was about connection. That performance traveled far beyond the theater. Clips spread online, shared across countries and languages. Filipinos across the globe watched with pride, many in tears. Comments poured in from people who had never heard Lupang Hinirang before, saying they felt something they couldn't explain. Parents showed the video to their children. Teachers played it in classrooms. Elders nodded, quietly, remembering. For the young singer, life changed overnight. Interviews followed. Messages arrived from strangers, thanking him for reminding them who they were. He remained humble, always repeating the same simple reason for his choice. "I wanted to honor my country." What many didn't realize was how much weight that choice carried. The Philippines' history is filled with resilience. Centuries of colonization. Wars fought on its soil. Voices silenced and later reclaimed. Lupang Hinirang was once banned. Its melody borrowed, its words rewritten in secrecy. To sing it openly now, on a global stage, was more than patriotic. It was symbolic. And to do so as a child, far from home, in front of the world, took quiet bravery. Simon Cowell would later reflect on the audition, saying it reminded him why music mattered. Not because of charts or fame, but because it could make people feel something real again. That night, a young Filipino didn't win the competition, but he won something else. He reminded millions that talent isn't just about vocal range or technique. Sometimes talent is knowing who you are and having the courage to share it. As the lights dimmed and the stage reset, for the next act, something invisible lingered in the air. A sense that everyone present had witnessed a moment that wouldn't fade easily. History had walked onto the AGT stage. It was small in size, but immense in meaning, and for those who heard Lupang Hinirang that night, whether in the theater or across the world, it would never sound the same again. Long after the applause faded and the cameras moved on, people kept talking about what they had just seen. Backstage, the young Filipino stood quietly with his family, still processing the moment. There were no screams of celebration, no sudden change in his demeanor. he remained the same child who had walked onto the stage, calm, respectful, and deeply grounded. Producers passed by with nods of approval. Crew members whispered about how unexpected the audition had been. In a room filled with talent, spectacle, and ambition, something rare had happened. A performance had slowed time. For many in the audience, the meaning of the song grew clearer. Only afterward, some searched for translations of the lyrics. Others learned for the first time about the Philippines' struggle for independence, about a people who had fought not only with weapons, but with words, music, and unity. The anthem's message of peace, freedom, and love of land resonated beyond borders. Online, reactions poured in from every corner of the world. Viewers from different cultures wrote that they didn't understand the language, yet felt the emotion instantly. Filipinos living abroad shared how the performance made them feel closer to home, even for just a few minutes. Some admitted they hadn't heard their anthem sung with such purity in years. Simon Cowell, known for moving quickly from one act to the next, lingered on that moment longer than most. In later conversations, he described it as a reminder that music doesn't need explanation when it's honest, that sometimes the most powerful performances are the ones that don't ask for applause. They simply offer truth. The young singer returned home, not as a celebrity, chasing fame, but as a symbol of something larger. Schools invited him to sing. Communities thanked him. Elders smiled with quiet pride. He had carried his country's voice with dignity, and in doing so, had earned respect far beyond the stage. What made the moment unforgettable wasn't just that a child sang a national anthem on a global platform. It was that he did so without fear, without ego, and without forgetting where he came from. In a world often driven by noise and spectacle, his performance stood out for its simplicity. Years from now, new talents will step onto that stage. Louder voices will sing. Flashier lights will shine, but that night will remain different. Because for a brief moment, a song written in the heart of a nation reminded the world that pride, history, and humanity can live in a single voice. And sometimes that is more powerful than winning.